Hey, what's up guys? We're back with another video today over Knights of the Old Republic 2, and we're going to continue our influence and build guide video series today, going on to our boy Bao-Dur. So very much like our video with Atten, we're going to talk about how to build your character, the influence points and how to gain influence with them, and then there are going to be some spoiler bits, so if you haven't played the game and you don't want any of the spoily bits for the story, I will give you a little bit of a heads up that those are coming, so just be ready for that. Just from hearing from you guys and looking at the analytics on the video, I did see that the backstory piece of the video wasn't really valuable to you, so just so we don't waste each other's time, I will not include the backstory. So if you want to learn more about Bao-Dur's backstory, which is, an interesting one, go ahead, talk to him in the game, figure that out on your own. If you do decide that you guys enjoy that, let me know, and for future videos, I can put that in the video, but today we're going to focus just on build advice for Bao-Dur and how to gain influence with him. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. All right, so let's talk about build advice for our boy Bao-Dur. Now, he's not great. When it comes to combat, he's not super great. He's a tech specialist, which means he's by the age of 20. When he was 20 years old, by level 20, he will get 8 feats, which it's not that great. He's got, 15 in strength, which is okay, not bad. 10 in dexterity, which means no modifier, which means he's gonna get wreckety wrecked if you don't give him some pretty nice armor. Don't even think about ranged weapons, by the way, because his dexterity is garbage. Just stick to melee with our boy Bao-Dur. He's got 14 in constitution, which is fine. He can get the retinal combat implant, which I think is, again, one of the most important implants in the game. Very easy to get. Very huge essential bonuses, especially if you're playing on hard mode. The wisdom is kind of interesting. And then intelligence, very nice for him since he's a tech specialist. He has some nice skills. So really, when you're building Bao-Dur, I would think of doing it one of two ways. Basically, you could build him as a droid to where he's just, you could buff his intelligence and do a lot with skills. Or you could make him, kind of like a soldier. You could focus on his combat. You could, of course, split, go both ways, do a little bit in strength, give him some stuff to amplify his skills. Just, he won't max out. Again, he's kind of like, he's not as good at skills as like a droid. And he's not as good as combat as like the rest of your party. He's just kind of in this middle ground, which is unfortunately why a lot of people don't use him. I personally am going to go into strength. I'm not going to use him for skills. You can, again, if you do, just put some in intelligence. I personally am going into strength or constitution. Depends on if you want him to be a little bit tankier. Again, it's hard for him to be tanky because his defense class is going to be really low because he doesn't have any dexterity. So you're relying entirely on armor. That's what's going to be kind of rough for him. But I would go either constitution or strength. Probably for me, it would be strength, but you do you. When it comes to feats, what I would do is I would think about it this way. You could do 2-weapon fighting or dueling. Again, you're gonna have enough feats by the end of the game to really do with him what you want, but you're gonna have to think about in where you're at in the game, how useful do you need him to be? If you need him to be useful at the beginning of the game, 2-weapon fighting is not the answer, because his chance to hit is going to be so low early on in the game. You're not going to have improved 2-weapon fighting, master 2-weapon fighting. Dueling, if you need him to be effective early in the game, and that's where you really need him, dueling might be a better choice. If you want to think in-game oriented and you plan on using him instead of your other companions, then I would go 2-weapon fighting. Toughness is going to be big, as with every character. Toughness is going to be really big, especially because he doesn't have a lot of defense, so you're going to need to make up for that with a little bit of vitality. After that, then you kind of get to pick and choose, right? That's 6 of your 8 feats by level 20. Again, you go higher level 20, regardless. So really, you could start going into one of the attack feats like Flurry, Power Attack, Critical Strike. You could also, instead of going, again, combat focused, you could go into like Caution, Gearhead, the ones that amplify his skills as well. So again, it's really what role you need Bao-Dur to play in your party, whether you need him to be doing more in combat or if you need him to be focusing on skills so that he can, open chests, do whatever it is you need him to do. Aside from that, that's really, you're kind of, after that discussion, you've kind of maxed out most of his feats, right? There's, I guess, conditioning. Oh, another good one you could use is, honestly, don't hate me for this, dual strike. A lot of people don't like dual strike, but especially because really the place that you're going to use Bao-Dur is probably on Telos. A lot of people don't use him after Telos. On Telos, your chance to hit is so low. Dual strike gives you a +2 to hit if you're attacking someone that one of your companions is attacking. So you get that +2 to attack, which is actually pretty decent. So while it's not the best feat, it's not a bad idea for Bao-Dur, who's not super adept at fighting. All right, so I think that wraps it up for our build guide for Bao-Dur as the tech specialist. Now, spoiler alert incoming, giving you the heads up, spoilers for in-game kind of story spoilers for Bao-Dur's background. So I'll give you, go ahead, look in the description, jump to the next timestamp, giving you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so Bao-Dur can be converted into a Jedi Guardian. So now let's have a separate section to talk about build ideas for Bao-Dur as a Jedi Guardian. Now, I'm not gonna lie, Bao-Dur is one of the few characters in the game that I really do min-max. I usually am not a huge proponent of min-maxing, but Bao-Dur is kind of the exception because I don't love using him as a tech specialist. So honestly, when I recruit him on Telos, I won't level him up until I know that I have enough influence to convert him to a Jedi, and I just go straight to Jedi. He's not like, spoiler alert for another character, skip ahead 10 seconds. He's not like Atten, to where you can convert him to be a Jedi and you're missing out on feats that he gets as his original class. Bao-Dur, you're not really missing out on much. I mean, unless you want to think of like skills, you would get more skills, but other than that, you're not really missing much. So personally, I min-max him, I convert him to be a Jedi, and I do it as early as possible. Now, as far as when you're building Bao-Dur to be your Jedi Guardian, I'm going into strength personally. That's me. I want him to start dealing damage. I want him to start clicking, dealing damage. So I'm going to go into strength with my attributes. I'm definitely going 2-weapon fighting with my boy Bao-Dur, even though early on in the game, you're going to get wrecked. I mean, you're going to get wrecked anyways because if you're like me, you're not leveling up. If you are leveling him up, I would still go 2-weapon fighting. You're still going to get a little wrecked on Telos, but for me, it pays off in the long run. Telos is, you know, it's early on. Your wounds will heal from Telos. That trauma will go away. Yeah, I would go 2-weapon fighting. You're going to definitely need toughness. But after that, I would probably go into power attack or flurry. Again, go critical strike if you love critical strike. You do you. I'm personally going to go into power attack or flurry. You're going to have definitely more feats whenever you're a Jedi Guardian. And up until level 20, you're going to get 11 instead of 8. And then, I mean, as you go on, you get more than that. So I'm personally going to do that. I would honestly go weapon specialization for lightsabers. That's pretty nice for him. He's going to need that extra chance to hit from the weapon focus. The +2 damage is kind of nice from the specialization. After that, he does have, I think it's 14 in wisdom. So for a Guardian, he's going to have a decent force point pool eventually. Regenerate force points, not a bad idea. Regenerate vitality, not a bad idea. I'm probably going to stick away from dual strike. I don't know that you need dual strike when he's a Jedi Guardian. Jedi defense, another great one. Beyond that, you can go conditioning. I probably wouldn't recommend conditioning. I think those are really the good ones. So that's what I would do. And once again, if you really do want him to have some skills, he's going to have a substantial skill drop off when you convert him over to a Jedi Guardian. So you could always try to rectify that by giving him some of those skill feats. I'm probably not going to do that. If I'm going the Guardian route, I think I've kind of committed to him being a fighter as opposed to being, intelligence driven. But again, it's up to you. You do you. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room. We're assuming you're not modding your game. This is vanilla, or I guess expanded, whatever, modded, restored content, Knights of the Old Republic 2. Our boy Bao-Dur cannot wear robes. That really sucks. So here are your two options. Is you either get clothes Bao-Dur, which as we mentioned, he doesn't have any dexterity, or he doesn't have a dexterity modifier. So his defense is garbage. So he is going to get just shredded by enemy attacks. Or you go armor and you're restricted to only using force powers that are not restricted by armor. It's honestly pretty unfortunate that Bao-Dur can't wear robes. That does disappoint me a lot about that character. I personally, out of those two choices, I personally am going to go for the armor route. That's just me, and I will just live with the fact that he's not going to be able to use a lot of force powers. I'll just pick the ones that he can use. There's nothing wrong with going the other route, so if that's what you want, go for it. Now, the easy one to explain is if you're going the clothes route, pick whatever the heck you want. Go battle meditation, go force suppression, go force resistance, go heal, go force storm. It really doesn't matter, because as I've said with all of the other build guides, build advice things, when you start out at a Jedi at a low level, you get a force point every single level. You're going to have so many force powers. Okay. So you really, that's why people get mad. Well, you didn't tell me to get this power in this build guide. You can almost get every single one, guys. Just get whichever one you want. However, If you are going the armor route, you do need to be a little bit more selective because there are a lot of powers you're not going to be able to use, and RIP, force jump, you're not going to get to use that. That is unfortunate. If you're going the armor route, I would definitely get energy resistance and force barrier. Now, as I have noted in the comments that you guys think that I'm an idiot, I don't love force barrier and energy resistance. They're not my favorites, but when you've already got a limited force pool, I would say those rank pretty high in what I would be getting. So I'd get that. Heal wouldn't be a terrible idea just because, again, with 14 wisdom, he's going to have a decent amount of wisdom to pull from when he's healing people. So healing might not be a bad idea, but he is at Guardian, so he's not going to have a great force point pool. So that's something to think about. After that, you're pretty limited to what you can do. You know, there's stun droid, fear if you want some crowd control with some stuns. You could go force push, which is a good power. Again, you're going to run into the situation though with where he's at in wisdom, and if you throw a point or two in, get something from some of his gear, he's going to be able to probably, with reasonable effectiveness, use force powers on like goons, but not on bosses. One power that I might be tempted to go for if I'm using, which I don't do this honestly, but in theory it sounds like a good idea, is Force Scream, which I think is kind of an underrated force power. I don't use it a whole lot, and I really should use it more, and I think it'd be a good one with Bao-Dur. Now, the one thing is, Bao-Dur is initially a light side character, so you have to kind of convert him to be dark side, which is kind of tough to do. And if you don't do that, you're going to have a pretty decent penalty whenever you use Force Scream if you decide to go that route. So just remember that any dark side force powers you go for, but it does reduce their attributes and it deals sonic damage as most sonic weapons do, which is pretty nice. So for Bao-Dur, that would be a nice little offensive force power. Other than that, I'm trying to think of what else you can get. You can get like Wound, you can get Plague, stuff like that. Those are nice. Plague is a nice one because it can't be resisted. So even though he's a Jedi Guardian, use Plague, they can't resist it. That one's pretty nice. I will say that if you are going the clothes route, I would definitely recommend Force Armor, Force Valor, and Force Barrier and Energy Resistance. I would get the Holy, I guess that's not the Trinity. What's the Quaternions? What's 4? I don't know. I would get all 4 of those though, because you're gonna, again, your defensive rating is going to be garbage. I would just do whatever you can to kind of ensure his survivability. That's going to be pretty nice as well. One last tip, and this really could have gone in the tech specialist section, so sorry for you people that didn't want spoilers. Something that is very nice about Bao-Dur that hopefully you all are aware of, and it's a way to use him early on in the game, is his Shield Breaker special ability. Now, especially if you're playing on like hard mode early on in the game, when you're on Telos, a lot of those mercenaries have Mandalorian melee shields, and it's actually very hard, at least for me, to get past those shields. I mean, if you're min-maxing, you have a super powerful character, then maybe it's not so hard. But if you're kind of role-playing, or if you're doing anything that's not min-max-ish, that can actually be kind of hard during those fights. And Bao-Dur, instead of, fighting through the shields, you can use his Shield Breaker ability and just get past the shield. Now, I use this a lot, and I have a lot of trouble landing hits, but whenever you do, I mean, it's super nice, especially if he happens to land it on the first try. You never have to worry about the shield again. You can just break that shield. It's a very nice, so I would definitely recommend, especially abuse that. Use that as much as you can early on in the game. Just have him go break a shield, run, go break all of the shields and all of the mercenaries so that you're not attacking and dealing damage to the shields and wasting attack turns. All right, so I think that concludes most of the build information about our boy Bao-Dur. Now let's talk about what you all probably came to this video for, and that's gonna be the influence guide. Now, very important to note that characters, as I've mentioned in my @1, characters can steal influence from each other. There are instances in the game where you are influencing multiple companions at the same time. If you influence multiple companions at the same time, not all of them will always get the influence, and Bao-Dur seems to be like at the bottom of the totem pole. If multiple people can be influenced, and you have multiple people in your party, Bao-Dur seems to get the shaft every single time. So keep that in mind. I will try to point those out whenever I list them, but if there is a point where multiple people can get influence, try to only have Bao-Dur with you, otherwise he might not get the influence. All right, so let's start off with Telos. So in the military base, you have that Zerka guy, which, oh God, I'm having Vietnam flashbacks of trying to get that guy out of the military base, and he stops moving, and you don't realize it, and you have to go back and get him. Oh my God. But anyway, if you get him out of there, you're gonna get influence with Bao-Dur. Important to note, if you do that one, you must only have Bao-Dur in your party. If you have multiple people in your party, Bao-Dur will not gain the influence, or you will not gain influence with Bao-Dur. I don't care if I say that backwards, you know what I mean. What's really nice is you can change your party in the military base. So if you have Kreia or Atten with you, you can switch them out very easily. It's fine. make sure that you get rid of them before you take him out. Otherwise, no influence with Bao-Dur. Another one that's really easy to get is whenever you're on the North Pole, you're at the hidden Jedi base, and you go and you release Kreia and Atten and Bao-Dur, and Bao-Dur's like, I'm so sorry, General, I failed you. I've been captured. Totally fine. You just say, hey man, it's not your fault. You're good. Go get on the ship. We're cool, man. You did your best, and you're going to gain influence. If you're a dick, you're going to lose influence. Moral of the story for all this is don't be dark side, don't be a dick, and you're going to gain influence with Bao-Dur. On Dantooine, whenever you want to gain influence, whenever you're doing, you're restoring the defenses of Kunda. If you go back into the droid area where all the disabled droids are, the second one that you fix, you'll find a Carrie's Hydro Spanner. If you go out, go talk to a Carrie, and you give him his Hydro Spanner, and you show mercy on him, say, you know what, I get it, I'm not going to turn you in, you'll gain influence with Bao-Dur. Again, this is another one. Multiple people can gain influence from this, so I would recommend only have Bao-Dur with you. Next one up on Bao-Dur is kind of a 2 for the price of 1. So if you go, I think it's to the left, whenever you first get to Dantooine, you go to the left and like under like a tree, like this guy is just like chilling out under a tree by a land speeder. There's Sadhi, I don't know how you pronounce his name, I don't really care. He tells you he's missing some atmospheric sensors, and he asks you to go find them. They're real important to him. Why does he need atmospheric sensors? Well, Bao-Dur has an idea. But go into the Crystal Caves. Now, for this, you are going to need either a 5 in awareness or a 16 in repair. If you don't have any of those, then you can't gain the influence with Bao-Dur. If you have so I'm getting ahead of myself. Whenever you go into the Crystal Caves, right in front of you, there's a giant pillar, and you'll find a piece of rubble. Inside are your atmospheric sensors. If you meet the skill check for awareness or repair, you will get a line with Bao-Dur. If you meet the awareness check, you can have Bao-Dur crack them open and find out they're a listening device. If you have the repair skill, you can crack them open yourself and find it. Either way, you will gain influence with Bao-Dur. Now, after that, take them back to Sadhi, whatever, guy under a tree. Tell him, hey, this is a listening device. What's you doing, bruh? You just tell him that, and then you just take them for 3,000 and say, you know what, you need the credits more than I do, and Bao-Dur, you will gain influence with him. Again, this is another one where multiple people can gain influence. So again, try to only have Bao-Dur here. All right, now we move on to Nar Shaddaa, and there are a whole bunch of opportunities on Nar Shaddaa. First one is whenever you first get to the refugee landing pad, and you go out to that area and you find those 2 guys that are harassing the man for credits. And you have the option, say, this man's under my protection, or you can say, go jump in the central pit, or you can just say, this is not the man you're looking for. Basically, just don't tell them to go run in the central pit, and you'll gain influence with Bao-Dur for helping out this man. Next one up is going to require, yet again, another skill check, and this is one that multiple people can gain influence from, so make sure you only have Bao-Dur with you. If you go down into the refugee section, you're going to find Gariel. He's sick, he's dying, R2. And if you go and talk to him, if you have 6 treat injury, you can heal him, gain influence with Bao-Dur. Now, if you go over to the docks, the next place that you can gain influence with Bao-Dur is if you go and you have to complete the Lutra quest. So you have to go talk to Lutra, go down, talk to his wife, get them reunited. It's all lovey-dovey. You have to go there with Bao-Dur and Kreia. You have to go with both of them. You go over, you talk to Kreia, or talk to them, get them all sorted out. Awesome. Kreia's going to be like, why the hell did you do that? You just weakened him, you dumb ass. I mean, not really, but that's in Kreia terms, that's what she's going to say. And you basically just have to say, I would always try to help you and my friends, something along that line. And Bao-Dur's like, thanks, General. And you gain influence with him. All right, last one on Nar Shaddaa involves fixing the airspeeder that's downstairs. So let's go through. First, you got to find all the parts. Let's talk about where all those parts are. First one is whenever you first get off the Ebon Hawk, if you go to the right into that the blind guy, the blind Celestian that's got the droid, one of the pieces is in there. Next one is if you go over to the docks, in the Flophouse, there's the Ithorian, La Savu, or however you pronounce his name. He has a power cell. You can either kill him and gain dark side points. By the way, don't have Bao-Dur with you, you'll lose some influence. You can either get the power cell from him by killing him or completing his quest. And then for part number 3, go to the far end of the docks over by the Jek Tar, go to the power pylon station, and in there's a plasticele cylinder, or is it a metal box? I can't remember. There's like a trash receptacle of some form, and inside is your last part. Now go down into the refugee sector, go to Serico territory, and you will find the airspeeder. Once you start repairing it, after you have put all the pieces in, no skill check required. You can have no skills, totally botch this, have it an unflyable airspeeder. After you put all the things in there, if Bao-Dur is with you, he will say, hey, I don't know so much about that. Let me take a look at this. And you can allow him to look at it, review your work. If you do that, you will gain influence. Now that I've said all that, it's important for me to mention that in my experience, I did come across a bug on Nar Shaddaa that I do want to share with you guys, just so that you don't go through the same kind of situation that I did. you want to do all of these influence opportunities either before or after the event has triggered for the red eclipse the slavers. The reason for that is what I found is whenever that cutscene occurs, whenever you go and try to get influence, it doesn't work. You're not able to gain influence. I don't know. I was able to replicate that several times. I have some footage of it happening, and it was very strange that there were opportunities where I should be gaining influence and I wasn't. I figured that was the problem because after I went and did the red eclipse thing, if I went back and did that same opportunity, boom, I got influence. So that was what was messing it up. So that's just a bug I encountered. I hope you guys don't, but if that does happen, you know why. All right, just a few more to go. First, we're gonna start off at Duxon. Whenever you go to Duxon, you know, poor little Mando stuck here, you know, up on a cliff, you know, surrounded. He's out of bullets, out of food. Really a sad situation for a Mandalorian. If you help him down, Bao-Dur thinks you're pretty cool, and you gain influence with him. Moving on down to Onderon. If you have Bao-Dur with you when you're on Onderon, if you go talk to the Republic spy, if you give him an open starport visa, which you can get from the bounty hunters, then you're gonna gain influence with him, which is pretty easy. The last one is whenever you go back over into, I don't remember, one of the sectors in Nar Shaddaa, the one with Ponlar, the guy that starts the riot, like the first one you come to. If you use Dominate Mind, and you do need Dominate Mind, if you use Dominate Mind to prevent the riot, you will gain influence with Bao-Dur. All right, guys, that's everything. Those are my thoughts on some advice on how to build Bao-Dur and a complete influence guide. All of your opportunities on how to influence him, what skill checks you need, and times that you should only have him with you. Guys, I hope you found this helpful. If you did, please drop a like. It makes me feel good to know that I have helped you out in some way. It also, you know, YouTube algorithm helps other people find this video. If you enjoyed this content and want to see other content like this, or want to follow me and just help me out or watch some of my streams, I do stream, I like to say I stream on Tuesdays, Thursdays at 6:30, and then Wednesday, Friday, Sunday at 4:30. But, you know, Central Time, by the way, sometimes that doesn't happen because real life happens and because Capital Games with Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes decided to change up the arena schedule. So we'll see. I stream pretty often, though. So if you want to get alerts for that, hit subscribe, notification bell. Guys, have a great rest of your night. Happy gaming. Talk to you guys later. Peace out.
Get down to the B side.